Happy 4th of July and welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at 5 different knives that I think are great for backpacking. Now, to be completely transparent, I haven't always needed a knife when I'm backpacking. There's been multiple trips where I haven't had to reach in my pocket or in my pack to get one, but I always carry one anyway, just in case you need it. So I got to thinking and brainstorming a little bit. I said, thinking about 5 different backpackers and 5 different knives. So without further ado, let's just look at what we have here. We're starting off with what I consider to be the Minimalist. This is the Victorinox Classic, and it's the smallest in my 5. It only has a few features. Of course, it has a knife. Granted, it's a very small knife. Wouldn't do too much more besides maybe cutting some paracord or cutting open a bag of food or something like that. But it does have a small knife. It also has scissors, as you can see there. So any type of thread or any kind of thread work, you'd have that for the scissors. Maybe you need to trim. Also has a small file. So here's your file here that has a tip that can be used for a flathead screwdriver. Now it also has tweezers, okay? And it also has a toothpick, which I lost years ago. So this is going to be the lightest and smallest option that I'm out here showing today, and that's why I have named it the Minimalist. So let's look at another one. Okay, probably get a lot of flack for this one, but this is for the Bushcrafter. So the reason I picked the More Cans Bowl is because it is one of the lightest full-length blades that they make. It has a compound grind, it has a Scandi grind, a flat grind. I've made a video about this ages ago, so if you wanted to check that out, you can. The reason I chose this is because maybe there are backpackers out there like myself that like to have a full-size blade, a 4-inch blade on them. Maybe the scenario with this knife is, you get to camp and you're going through your pack and you're pulling out your tent and your poles and you realize that you have forgotten your tent stakes. They're in a separate bag, sitting on the couch, whatever. And this can make those tent stakes with ease. Also, you can make your own fires. If you were brave enough to leave without a lighter or matches, you could get it all done with this. Now, I wouldn't suggest carrying this on your hip because most, if not all, backpacks have some sort of hip belt, and this is probably going to be cumbersome trying to carry that with that. So for this knife, I would suggest carrying it on your pack strap or just in the pack altogether. So that's for the Bushcrafter. So next on the list is the Foodie. So Opinel number 8. Now this is the knife that I would guarantee you, if you did a poll of backpackers, this brand, maybe not this size, but this brand is probably the #1 knife carried into the backcountry. Basically because of its weight. Super, super light. It's got this really nice flat grind. So this is the perfect knife for those of us out there that like to take a little bit of food outside of dehydrated foods and those kind of things, and maybe you want to prepare a meal for your friends. Maybe it's just an overnight or weekend long backpacking trip and you don't mind that extra weight of some food. This knife is perfect for that. Now this is the number 8, but I would imagine that serious weight conscious backpackers are probably carrying something like the number 4 or number 5, smaller number, smaller blade, even lighter than this. So yeah, I class that Opinel knife as the Foodie backpacker. Great knife. Take it everywhere I go, just about. Okay, let's look at another knife. Who would have thought I would have had 2 Moras on this list, but I do. So this is the Mora Eldris, and I'll call this the backpacker, the Whittler. So this is the knife that you can carry around your neck. Obviously, you're gonna have your backpack on, it's gonna be strapped on, but this can hang right there. And then what's nice about it is just being able to grab it at any instance without having to take your pack off and digging through there. Now, if you didn't like carrying it on your neck, obviously you could throw it in your pack and it would be great. But the Eldris is just a great little all-purpose knife, another weight-conscious knife. And so with this dual grind like the Cans Bowl, you know, you can do a lot of things with this. You can start fires with that, as long as you had a ferrocerium rod. The Cans Bowl has that ferrocerium rod. It's like the whole package. But if you didn't want that extra length, but you wanted a sharp spine for lighting fires and things like that, you could. But this is a great little whittling knife. A lot of times, you know, you've been on the trail all day. You don't really want to do too much once you get camp set up, but maybe you just don't want to crawl straight into your tent and go to bed. So if you do have a fire, some people do like to start a fire. I do, you know, as long as it's safe. You know, just sitting around fire whittling, chatting with a friend, or if you're solo hiking, it just passes the time. So I think the Mora Eldris is great for the whittler. Number 5 on our list is another multi-tool. So now the Gerber Dime, this is about the smallest multi-tool that you could carry. Now the difference between that and the Swiss Army knife is the pliers. So, you know, it is a little chunky for the size. I'll put the weight up here. I'll put the weight for all these knives in the corner. But this has a lot of features aside from the pliers, and everything else is external. There's your blade, pretty small, kind of like that. It's a little bit more burly than the Victorinox Classic, but basically just good enough to, you know, cut cordage, cut meal bags open, stuff like that. It also has scissors. I think this is a better pair of scissors than what comes on the Victorinox. I might get some hate mail for that, but a little plane flying over, celebrating. And then you have your flathead screwdriver. And there's a lot of tools on here that are kind of overkill for backpacking, but you know, and then it has a bottle opener. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not packing bottles into the backcountry on a backpacking trip, but there's that option. Yeah, just a great all-around small tool. I put this on here so I can just hang it off a carabiner inside my pack if need be, so I'll know where it is at all times. So yeah, the Gerber Dime. I call this I guess the handyman's tool, or the handyman backpacker, because, you know, you may be with some friends and they have forgotten a blade, or they need to, you know, they're having trouble pulling their tent stakes out. You've got the pliers for that. Rip them on out of the ground. But yeah, so those are the 5 knives that I think make great backpacking knives. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and I'd love to hear some suggestions of maybe something that you carry into the backcountry. But all these had weight and size in mind. So that was my criteria for choosing those 5 knives, is size and weight. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Until then, peace out. Happy 4th of July. Enjoy your freedom.